Welcome, this is Najma Minhas with Global Village Space. I'm joined today by Mr. Sarwar Bari, who has decades of experience in looking at Pakistan's political system and electoral reforms. Sarwar Saab, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Sarwar Saab, let's start off with the Election Commission of Pakistan's announcement yesterday that it cannot hold elections until May 2023. Earlier, less than a month ago, on the 7th of April, it said that it could hold these in October 2022. And this was when people were expecting elections to be held within 90 days, as per the ECP's constitutional mandate. Ho kya raha hai yahan?
I think the Election Commission has made things very complex for everybody. And to a large extent, it appears to me and to many other people that the Election Commission seems to be very close to a section of political parties in Pakistan. And we have seen Election Commission's position on EVM and I-voting for overseas Pakistanis as well. And if you prepare a matrix of ECP's position on these two things and PMLN or the PDM's position, you can find almost 90% similarities.
लेकिन justification क्या दे रहे हैं कि अभी पहले तो कह रहे थे ना कि हम अक्टूबर तक कर लेंगे, अभी वो कह रहे हैं May 2023. Justification क्या दे रहे हैं?
There is no justification, and the justification which the Election Commission has been offering is not satisfactory, because if assemblies are dissolved today, Election Commission has to conduct elections within 90 days. There is no other way. Now, अभी जो लग रहा है कि इलेक्शन कमीशन is saying कि हमें चूंकि सेंसस नहीं अभी तक हुआ, इसलिए सेंसस होगा, उसके बाद हमें 4 महीने लगेंगे डिलिमिटेशन करने में. हालांकि सेंसस होना ज़रूरी नहीं है, क्योंकि लास्ट हमारा सेंसस हुआ था 2017 में. उससे पहले जो है वो 19 साल पहले 1998 में हुआ था, और बहुत सारे इलेक्शन 1998 के सेंसस के ऊपर होते रहे. तो अगर ये प्रोविजनल रिजल्ट्स के ऊपर 2018 के इंतखाबात हुए हैं, तो उसी के ऊपर चूंकि वो एक वन टाइम परमिशन थी टू होल्ड इलेक्शंस ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ प्रोविजनल रिजल्ट्स, तो वो उसको अभी भी अमेंड किया जा सकता है, और तो देयर इज नो नीड टू हैव अ न्यू सेंसस, और दैट मींस दैट इलेक्शंस कुड बी हेल्ड बिफोर अक्टूबर.
व्हाट इज ड्राइविंग देम दो कि वो सेंसस saying कि सेंसस होनी चाहिए?
I think, in my view, I don't find any substantive grounds to say that elections may take place in May 2023. I think it's primarily because what Shahbaz Sharif and Maryam Nawaz has been saying for the last few days, that we will complete our tenure. It's not their tenure; it's a tenure of the last assembly. And that would come to an end in July, August. So in fact, the Election Commission next year, in a way, Election Commission is saying what in fact the ruling party is saying. So I think Election Commission must be very careful while uttering such words. तो मेरा अपना ख्याल है कि Election Commission को चाहिए कि वो पब्लिक स्टेटमेंट देने से पहले 10 दफ़ा सोचे तो फिर बात बनेगी. नहीं तो जो खान साहब कह रहे हैं वो इलेक्शन कमीशन हैज़ बीन बेसिकली कंडोनिंग व्हाट इमरान खान हैज़ बीन सेइंग.
राइट, कि पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज जो चाह रही हैं वो उसी को एको कर रहे हैं, स्पेशली जो गवर्नमेंट.
खान साहब कह रहे हैं कि जी इलेक्शन कमीशन तो बिल्कुल हुकूमत के साथ मिला हुआ है, नून के साथ मिला हुआ है, और वो वही बात कर दें, अगर जो आर्गूमेंट खान साहब का वही आर्गूमेंट लेके अगर ये करें तो फिर तो बात नहीं बनेगी, फिर तो और कंट्रोवर्शियल हो जाएगा.
In that case then, फिर what is the solution for PTI then? If one party is finding कि जो election commission it is favouring another party, what is the resolution? How do we have to deal with the ECP in that case?
मेरा ख्याल सिंपली जो पहली बात तो ये है कि जो रेजिग्नेशन है 125 जो हमारे MPs हैं उनका रेजिग्नेशन मस्ट बी एक्सेप्टेड, और दैट वुड मीन दैट द इलेक्शंस मस्ट टेक प्लेस विद इन 45 डेज ऑफ द एक्सेप्टेंस ऑफ द रेजिग्नेशंस. और
जो बाई इलेक्शंस होंगे
in 125 constituencies, that would be like a mini general election, and that would force the election commission to hold the general elections. So that is one way of having early elections. And secondly, in my view, it appears that there is a crisis in Pakistan, very, very serious crisis, or the pressure is building up from various sectors. It's not just the PTI, but also many other.
कौन से other sectors?
सिविल सोसाइटी है, उसकी तरफ से है, मीडिया की तरफ से बहुत सारी ऐसी चीज़ें हो रही थी जो उस प्रेशर की वजह से अनडू होनी शुरू हुई हैं। और इसी तरह जो है वो लीगल साइड पे अगर आप देखें कि जो पहले तो इस्लामाबाद हाई कोर्ट ने कहा 30 दिनों में ईसीपी को फैसला करना चाहिए, जो कि इस्लामाबाद हाई कोर्ट नहीं कर सकता था, तो विच वाज इलीगल। Islamabad High Court has no jurisdiction over ECP. ECP is the independent commission. तो अब आज मैंने सुना है कि आज अभी उन्होंने कहा है कि जो बाकी दो पार्टियां हैं उनके भी जो अकाउंट्स हैं वो खोले जाएंगे। तो प्रेशर तो बिल्डअप हो रहा है, लेकिन जो क्राइसिस है वो तो नीचे नहीं आ रहा। क्राइसिस तो बिल्डअप हो रहा है, लोग सड़कों पे आ रहे हैं और जो ट्रेंड्स हैं वो भी हमारे सामने है। ओवरसीज पाकिस्तानीज अराउंड द स्ट्रीट्स, यहाँ पर भी लोग सड़कों पर हैं, इलेक्शन कमीशन के सामने मुजाहरे हो रहे हैं। तो प्रेशर इज वर्किंग एज वेल। दैट मीन्स कि जो रूलिंग कोलिशन है दैट इज आल्सो ऑन द डिफेंसिव। So therefore, I believe that the election commission should expedite.
You are sure that there aren't any specific technical issues जिसकी वजह से election commission ये कह रहा है?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Census can't be any excuse.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't,
Simply.
because one of the issues is that because Karachi and MQM believe that Karachi was undercounted, therefore ये census होना चाहिए. You don't think that's sufficient enough to delay the election right now?
Census has nothing to do with this to resolve the current crisis. Census could be done after the elections as well. Secondly, the other issue is the merger of FATA districts in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. These are the two areas, but that could be negotiated with the various actors and stakeholders that look, elections are very much needed in Pakistan in order to smoothen the situation in the country.
Because census, if you take Karachi for example, the census will ensure that Karachi and Hyderabad will be reflected correctly, their population, right? उसका मतलब ये है कि constitution delimitation की ज़रूरत आपको will influence the election, right? Because MQM are expecting that urban seats will increase, and therefore they have an expectation they do better on urban seats. So it does influence the election for MQM and urban parties.
Let's suppose for a minute that the population of Karachi under the new census goes up. Just imagine the reaction from interior Sindh, because that would mean that the distribution of seats between urban areas and rural areas will also disturb.
Because
so there will be a political backlash from interior Sindh as well.
Right.
So you may resolve one issue, but you may create two other issues.
Okay.
So therefore, in my opinion, the best solution is to hold elections as early as possible.
Right.
And then hold a new census afterwards.
Okay.
And then you can do delimitations for the next general election,
ठीक है.
2028.
Okay, so now let's go on to the electoral reforms जो अभी गवर्नमेंट की पार्टीज खुद कह रही हैं कि हमें electoral reforms चाहिए. ये किस किस्म के electoral reforms हैं जिनके बारे में वो बात कर रहे हैं?
नजमा, उसमें देखिए 2017 में जो पार्लिमानी सब कमेटी बनी थी ऑन इलेक्टोरल रिफॉर्म्स, उसकी तकरीबन 70 मीटिंग्स हुई थी 2016 और 17 में, 2 साल. And finally we had this 2017 Elections Act, and that was unanimously passed almost. अब जो नई इलेक्टोरल रिफॉर्म्स की बात कर रही है PMLN और पाकिस्तान पीपल्स पार्टी खास तौर पर, they have been saying that we need new electoral reforms. What does it mean? It means that they wanted to reverse those reforms which were introduced by PTI government, and especially two electoral reform. One is the use of EVM in election. The other is I-voting for the overseas Pakistan.
सही है.
Now, if you undo those two reforms, which have been in fact signed by People's Party and PMLN in 2017.
So those two reforms come from that 2017 committees जिसके आप कह रहे हैं. So they come from those days.
Absolutely.
So why do they want to? Because उन दिनों में तो PMLN was in power. So why do they want to overdo them now then?
This was done at that time. Sometimes, and we know that in many countries, reforms were introduced by some party so that party could take some benefit. But at the end of the day, they found out that the reforms did not work the way they wanted to
Right.
have the results.
Right.
Similarly, here I think they realized perhaps के जो overseas Pakistanis हैं उसमें एक certain political party is more popular than their parties. And secondly, as far as EVM is concerned, you know that from on the polling day, if you enter a polling booth, there are 27 steps. You go through 27 steps. Like you
To vote.
to vote.
So the average person जो आपका ड्राइवर जाएगा, जो मेड
आप
जाएगी,
जाएंगी,
जो
मैं जाऊंगा.
हम तो फिर भी we're educated, but
Whoever is going
Right.
there, whether educated or
Right.
literate,
they face
or
27 steps.
you go to the polling booth, you show your ID card.
बिल्कुल.
वो जो presiding officer है, he or she will check your ID card number, and then he has to loudly say your name so that polling agents listen to it. It starts from there.
ठीक है.
Then he would issue a ballot paper. But before issuing the ballot paper, he has to stamp the counterfoil of the ballot paper, and along with the stamp and his signature, her signature, and before issuing you a ballot paper, he has to stamp the ballot paper on the backside. Then you go to the polling booth, and then of course the ballot boxes are merged from all the polling booths in the polling station. So all these step counting, then preparing the results. At 27 steps, there is a human interaction.
Okay.
At each step, you can manipulate the system.
Okay.
Like if I don't
So
sign the
that
back side of the
27
ballot,
Okay.
that ballot will not be counted.
Okay.
That will be out.
Right. So कोई देखता है कि आपने साइन किया बैक साइड या
Yes.
नहीं?
When ballots are counted,
Right.
ballots are looked from both sides.
Okay.
All the ballots.
नहीं, जब मैं डब्बे में डालने वाली होती हूँ तो क्या कोई देखता है कि दूसरी तरफ
उस
आपने
वक्त
साइन
कोई नहीं
किया?
देखता.
Okay.
आपने करके डाल के आ
क्या
गए.
करने से पहले मुझे कोई बताता है कि आपने दोनों तरफ साइन करना है?
किसी को नहीं पता.
Okay.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. I didn't know
अब जब
this.
काउंटिंग होने लगती है तो फिर वो दोनों साइडों पे देखना जरूरी है. अगर आपके बैलेट पे बैक साइड पे स्टैंप नहीं लगी हुई, दैट इज आउट.
Okay.
अच्छा, अब ये जो हमारे यहाँ जो इलेक्टेबल हैं, दे हैव एक्सेल्ड इन दीज टेक्निक्स. अच्छा जी, मार्जिन ऑफ विक्ट्री क्या है? 94 जो कैंडिडेट्स थे, जो रिटर्न कैंडिडेट्स इन 2018, देयर मार्जिन ऑफ विक्ट्री वाज लेस देन 5000.
94 candidates.
94
Out of
returned
some-
candidates
out of
272. Now, if I manipulate 10 votes in each polling booth, I can easily win. I don't need to do a large scale rigging.
बिल्कुल.
5-10 votes in each polling station.
बस.
I ask the presiding officer, don't stamp X number of votes, ballots in your polling booth. I can win the election. That's why in 41 constituencies, the margin of victory was less than the rejected votes.
Right.
So this is one of the ways. With EVM, all these steps will be eliminated.
Okay.
जैसे दुनिया में कहते हैं कि जो कार एक्सीडेंट्स होते हैं या रोड एक्सीडेंट्स हैं, 94% रोड एक्सीडेंट होते हैं ह्यूमन एरर की वजह से.
बिल्कुल.
ठीक है, नॉट बिकॉज ऑफ मैकेनिकल फेलियर. सिमिलरली यहाँ जितना भी ह्यूमन इंटरेक्शन आप कम करेंगे, उतना ही रिगिंग के चांसेस कम हो जाएंगे. ये जो पार्टीज बहुत सारी हैं जिन्होंने एक्स्ट्रा वोट दर्ज करवाए हुए हैं, जो इस किस्म की मैनिपुलेशन में एक्सपर्ट्स हैं, दे नो दैट बाय यूजिंग ईवीएम दे विल बी इनकैपेसिटेटेड टू यूज देयर ट्रेडिशनल.
लेकिन there's lot of arguments कि बहुत सारे मुल्कों में फिर भी there is election rigging despite having EVMs. India is one a classic case जिसके बारे में कहा जाता है कि BJP, for example, a Congress in many states has alleged that BJP is rigging using EVMs. So would that not apply here in Pakistan as well?
So far, I have not seen any results of any investigation that it was true or just an allegation.
Okay.
In Pakistan as well, every party who loses election, like the last time, they right in the beginning started saying that elections were rigged.
बिल्कुल.
I know.
So it makes no difference whether it was EVM or
No,
human.
but definitely, EVM reduces the chances of rigging.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because there's no human interaction. It's just you go and you push the button and your vote is cast. Election results are prepared automatically and within 10 seconds.
Right.
Our EVM machine is much better than Indian machine. I have seen Indian machine.
Okay.
Not once, many times.
Okay.
Because I was in India.
हमारी बेहतर क्यों है?
हमारी बेहतर ये है कि उनकी जो मशीन है वो इतनी sophisticated नहीं है. Secondly, that machine does not gives you printout. यहाँ पर जो हमारी मशीन है, if you are going to push a button which is in front of, let's say, bottle. So the bottle you will have a printout of a bottle on the paper. So you will our system is a dual system. So you can verify. And secondly, if any polling agents objects on the results, जो कि machine produced results, then the box is there. You can count the ballot papers.
Okay. So EVMs, they're against political parties, they're against those that think they will lose. क्योंकि वो electables की वजह से they won't be able to rig the system. What about I-voting? Why are they against overseas Pakistanis voting now?
I think again that the reason is that it appears that PTI is more popular overseas in
तो क्या 2017 में हमको ये नहीं नजर आ रहा था? Why now then?
2017 में जो मुझे मालूम है कि ये जो EVM और आई वोटिंग का था, this had come from PTI और ये कॉम्प्रोमाइज किया गया था, इसलिए उसको पायलट के तौर पर रखा गया था कि जी पायलट किया जाएगा. लेकिन ये कि 2018 के इंतखाबात के बाद जो बाई इलेक्शंस हुए, 42 के लगभग बाई इलेक्शन हुए थे, क्योंकि सीट्स वर वोकेटेड बाय कैंडिडेट्स, और उसमें फिर इलेक्शन कमीशन को सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ऑर्डर किया था अक्टूबर 2018 में कि जी आई वोटिंग मस्ट बी इंट्रोड्यूस्ड, नॉट एज अ पायलट बट एज जनरल प्रैक्टिस. तो दैट वाज डन. और सबसे ज्यादा वोटिंग आपको पता है सऊदी अरेबिया में हुई थी और उसके बाद यूएई में हुई थी,
जहां हमारी माइग्रेंट क्लास है,
जहां
सारे पाकिस्तानी पासपोर्ट्स हैं.
हाँ, वहां पर हुई है, रजिस्ट्रेशन भी वहां पर ज्यादा हुई थी, यूके और यूएसए में कम हुई थी. तो लगता यही है कि जो पीटीआई की
Was it successful? Did they vote?
Well, I think as far as registration of votes are concerned, it was very low, very, very low.
Okay.
Because there was very little time left to basically inform all the overseas Pakistanis. There was no system to inform them or educate them. So as a result of their registration remained very low. I think it was less than 8,000. And 85% of the registered people cast their vote. So from that angle, the turnout in overseas countries was much higher than Pakistani's turnout.
Okay, yeah. So these are the reforms that you're saying that the current government political parties don't want. What do they want then?
Well, yesterday in Muhid Pirzada's programs, Sardar Latif Khoso, who's former governor and I think he was once an Attorney General as well, he was suggesting that we should just if I remember it correctly, he wanted to say that we should have constituencies overseas.
Okay.
So
specific constituency जिस पे MP या MNAs
वहाँ से
overseas.
वहीं पे खड़े हो, इलेक्शन लड़ें. और मैंने कहा this is not possible in Saudi Arabia and UAE. These countries are not going to allow you to have a canvassing, and there is no election in the world where you can prevent people from canvassing, because without canvassing it's not informed opinion. So
like the minority vote MPs.
It's like Pakistanis, you carve out Bradford, you carve out Birmingham as one constituency and Manchester another constituency, and people living there, they are going to vote for their candidates who are living there as well. And then this doesn't make any sense. I think in 2018 by-elections, what was done that everybody who was residing abroad, whether he or she has a Pakistani passport or NICOP, they can register themselves in in any Pakistani constituency where they want to. But they have to register themselves as voter. So I think that is the best system we should follow.
So do you not think they should register just constituency में, for example, इनकी नाइकॉब का address लिखा हुआ है कि they belong to Lahore or they belong to Gujranwala? But do you think it's better that they just register any way they feel like?
Well, there are a number of proposals. One proposal is that it should be left to the people. If I belong to Islamabad, I have my permanent address is Islamabad on NICOB, then I should be allowed to register myself in Islamabad so that I can vote for a candidate who is here, but I can vote from abroad. And this practice has been there in many countries. Postal ballot is practiced in USA as well, in UK, Australia, South Africa. There are many 97 countries have allowed. In Australia, you can even vote through fax machine. So there are a number of ways that the countries allow you. Turkish people living in Germany, they also vote for their country. Now, the other way is, which is I think very simple, and that is proportional system. People should vote only for a party, not for a candidate. And it is up to the party. If whichever party gets more vote, gets more seats. That's much easy, so that they have their own, and party can have a closed list, which is available to overseas Pakistanis. They should know that if they vote for a certain party, this candidate will be at the top.
So
and
is this the
second.
only reform they want? Is this the only extra reform that they now
Well,
want?
I think they are intending to reverse EVM and I-voting.
Okay, so they now no longer believe in that and they want to get rid of
I
that,
think
even
so.
though they supported it in 2017.
Absolutely.
Okay, so tell me, किस किस्म की यहाँ irregularities होती हैं पाकिस्तान में? कहाँ डांडली हो सकती है? Which we need to worry about when we're going towards elections.
Well, we can pre-poll rigging.
What does pre-poll rigging
Well,
mean?
pre-poll rigging starts from gerrymandering. Gerrymandering, what is gerrymandering? Delimitation is done in such a way that I win election. So I bribe people.
लेकिन वो तो हो गया ना अभी, वो तो अभी हम कर नहीं रहे. So
नहीं अगर करें, आपने सवाल पूछा कैसे है?
Pre-polling,
तो
okay.
it starts from there.
बिल्कुल.
The second is that where people register themselves as vote. एक दूसरा है कि जैसे especially in by-election, I have observed people shifting their votes from one constituency to another constituency where by-elections are taking place. So in bulk, people, like in NA 120, by-election is taking place. People from NA 119, 118, they shift their vote to NA 120 so that their candidate could win. This happened in Kulsum Nawaz election in NA 120.
Okay.
And many women told me this. The second is that before the polling day, your votes, your ID card is either confiscated or bought. If I know that in F10-3, PTI is going to win, I would try my best to buy all the ID cards which I can. And this has happened in NA 133 election, in by-election. In Khanewal by-election as well, we have seen different parties buying ID cards, and the ID cards would be returned soon after the polling time is over. This is pre-poll, but polling day is again. I just mentioned कि जी कैसे आप करते हैं, आप बैलेट ज़ाया कर दें, आप बैलेट को 2 स्टैम्प्स लगा दें, आप बैलेट पेपर की बैक साइड पे स्टैम्प ना करें, वो साइन ना करें, और काउंटिंग में आप गड़बड़ कर दें, बैलेट बॉक्स पहले से भर दें, जो रिजल्ट आप तैयार कर रहे हैं, जो फॉर्म 45 है उसके ऊपर आप गलतियां कर दें. अभी हमने जो है जो KPK में लोकल गवर्नमेंट इलेक्शन हुए, you can't imagine in 60% seats, on 60% seats, margin of victory is less than the rejected votes. 60% seats. And on the chairman seat, the ratio percentage is 70%.
How do we reduce that margin of rejected votes? हमें क्या करने की ज़रूरत है? Because you're saying that's very common even in the general elections.
EVM is a good tool to eliminate this kind of rigging. तो ये और बाकी फिर इलेक्शन अनाउंसमेंट होने का जो इलेक्शन कमीशन में पहुंचते हैं, यहाँ पर भी बहुत सारे गड़बड़ें होती हैं कि आप जीते हुए हैं, मुझे उन्होंने जिता दिया, आपको हरा दिया। फिर आपका केस चलता रहेगा, वो 2-3 साल आप असेंबली में बैठी रहेंगी और उसके बाद कोई फैसला आएगा, अच्छा जी आपको डिसीट कर दिया, अब दूसरा आ जाए बाई इलेक्शन हो जाए।
Okay, on a final note, do you think Pakistan needs early elections and why?
Well, I think early elections, we need early elections. The reason is very simple, because this government is very fragile, and the simple reason is that it consists of more than 12 parties, and PMLN has a very thin majority within the coalition. But even if 5 people go away, the government will fall. So any government with this kind of vulnerability is not capable of taking any substantive steps for the country. Can't take actions, can't formulate policies for long-term objectives. So I think it's a very fragile government, and therefore the best way out is to hold election. And secondly, one party is protesting on the streets and showing a lot of anger, and there is a danger that if things go out of control, then there may be a violence in Pakistan.
So thank you for your time today.
Thank you.